in your own time, coming to the mat, or any supplement to a mat or addition to the mat, as I have put a carpet here over my yoga mat to create extra sense of space, broadening and widening the space. And here is alternate nostril breath. So this is taking your thumb to one side of the nose. If and when you practice it in your own time, in your own space, whenever, while you're driving, I've decided to lie down because this is the calm class, and there is nothing better than really bringing home everything we can do to feel at our ultimate best when it comes to highlighting all the calm centers within ourselves. So, alternate nostril breath can be done for as long as you like or not at all, whenever, as mentioned, you like. One, the thumb goes to one side of the nose, exhaling through the opposite side as this allows, and then inhaling through that same side that was just exhaled through, and then taking the hand to the opposite side of the nose to connect with where bone meets flesh on the side of the nose on the opposite side, and exhaling through the other side now. Inhaling through that same side you just exhaled from. Going to the opposite side, so gently pressing where bone meets flesh on the opposite side now to exhale in your own time, and then inhaling, same side, opposite, again pressing to the opposite side of the nose. And it goes like that over and over for as long as you'd like to help to induce a great connection to your breath and to slow down the mind and to positively trigger the parasympathetic nervous system. I'm ready to shift into a two-knee twist. Where are you right now? Maybe you need to stay with where you are, what you're doing, or any positive inaction that you might be doing so that we might be able to undo some of the overdoing that we've done in our lives. Two-knee twist can be somewhat simple and even more full of ease if we allow the knees to be further away from the underarm. So in this case, my knees are over to the left side and my left hand is on my outer right thigh and also traveling for some self-soothing in the low back. Sometimes if the low back is more open than the shoulder, a pillow might go really well underneath the shoulder that may or may not be lifted slightly off the floor, or maybe lifted a lot off the floor. Another option is sometimes it's the opposite. So putting a pillow, any kind of pillow, easy in reach, or perhaps it means slowly navigating out of this posture, putting me on pause, and then retrieving said support, and then coming back down here to self-soothe by putting the pillow underneath your knee closest to the ground. So in this case, it's my visual left knee. So whichever side you may or may not be on, remember, what is it that you need? Maybe it's something like standing up. Maybe that elicits a sense of control that brings about a sense of calm. So really allowing oneself to pinpoint exactly what is needed moment to moment. There is no right or wrong. Just move slowly, cautiously, and work within your present moment abilities. If your eyes are open and if you're watching me, I'm demonstrating elongating the legs, taking the heels away from my buttocks, and the same implication of flexibility within the self-determination here is present. Meaning, simple terms, pillow under the legs, pillow under the opposite shoulder that is on the other side of the direction the legs are resting can go a long way. The point is to create comfort in TCY, to make this coming up upon ourselves an easier process. Because if we can make contact with ourselves instead of tuning out, which is one of the blessed gifts of yoga, then we can excel in any way on and off of the mat, both on and off of the yoga mat. Anything is possible if we could slow down and assess our needs creatively and or simply address those needs, and then affirm what it is that we need, and then following present moments in the next moments to follow, rather. So assess and address, and then affirm, okay, this is the cornerstone of TCY, taking initiative. We say, okay, what do I need now? For me, I needed to, as you might have just seen, rock from side to side, give my back a free massage, compliments of gravity and the floor below me. And now, coming over to the opposite side, which I feel. What do you feel here? Or wherever you are? How can we merge feeling and sensation? So I'm equally talking about sensations in the body. And then going through that cycle again, the 3 A's. Assessing and addressing, and then affirming. So I've assessed here that my low back can have even more freedom, spaciousness. So more freedom by way of creating spaciousness. And that's where addressing comes into play, which is tied to the self-soothing. So self-soothing, as you can see, if you are watching or if you are listening, self-soothing is a way to bring more harmony and ease. And the whole thing about transition in yoga is to take some of the burden off of trying to, as quickly and efficiently, move from point A to point B. Life is more about quickly and efficiently moving from point A to point B. We want to come in contact with ourselves even in the in-between places, such as between the yoga postures. And this effectively reduces the number of injuries for myself, and knock on wood, I've been leading classes since 2005. We're in 2022. And I've never had anyone file a claim against me, ever. And back to this rocking here, which is a form of addressing and affirming a new course of action. So what is your best course of action here? Maybe it's having one leg extended, which you do not see me doing here. However, with no rocking and the leg extended, it can be really great to create more space in the low back and soothe the low back and hips. Remember, rocking is an active way to self-soothe, as you saw me doing. It helps to further integrate learning, which is pretty awesome, and memory. It reinforces memory. So there's a reason why these forms of self-soothing are introduced at such an early age in our lives. And for instance, resting posture. We as babies slept in resting posture naturally. So here we are, moving forward, and I'm deciding to take closed hands with my palms facing down as they are closed underneath my back. My feet are hip width apart with my heels under my knees to protect my knees. So having the heels under the knees, or perhaps in your body, it's having the heels a little bit further from the knees. And this undulation, this gentle lifting of the low belly with the strength of my core, with my navel to my spine, is super advantageous. As I rocked my spine up and down there several times, as you saw a moment ago, the last active movement, I was able to give myself self-soothing there through simple gravity and tools that I have readily available. I've crossed my left ankle just beyond my right knee. Again, I'm a fan of deepening the integrative work of the physical, or the physicality of this practice of yoga. We acknowledge that everything is union. So therefore, let us be more conscious, growingly conscious. Let us teach one another in the sharing of our practices by pure demonstration and visual determination that happens as we continue along. Sometimes continuing along means being still, as I am here. And sometimes it's being partially still with 75% of the body, and then allowing a gentle wiggle again without rocking, but a bit of a wiggle there. And that's also what you just saw. And let me tell you, I felt some amazing loosening up on either side of my spinal cord. So, really listening to your body, meeting your needs, actively self soothing, and taking initiative. So, here's more taking initiative. I notice, you know what? I'd like to feel more space along my side body, in my groin, and in my hip on the right side. So, I've placed my left foot down and I was gently doing palm presses with my right hand there in a rocking fashion almost. So see how much these movements can be integrated into every way that we approach to help to more efficiently integrate our lives while we're on the yoga mat. Staying focused, even though this is a gentle practice, we hold ourselves accountable for staying connected to our deepest innermost needs at any given point in time. Maybe it's best for you to come to what looks like final resting posture. However, at any point in time, one can come to extend the legs and the arms to either side, and then can transition back into moving with us. For those of us who are on the same page here and are looking to have more of a follow along approach to the class, nothing is right or wrong. What we do want to emphasize again is that assessing needs, addressing them, and then learning to take initiative. So you see here, I'm in this elongated, what looks like a final resting posture. And I also had my heels hip width apart, and I was rotating my legs inward for my toes to tap and then move apart a bit, and continuously moving away and then toward one another to tap. This is also said to have a positive impact on the brain, which I will not get into right now at this very moment. It definitely helps us to presence ourselves. So you might stay there, you might be doing something completely different. I have determined that slowly but surely I was going to shift out of where I was without any necessary agenda of where I'm going to go just yet, just listening to the present moment. So I rocked up, and remember, looking at the navel is essential for protecting the back of the neck. And also, as I'm here teaching this TCY, Trauma Cooperative Yoga class with you, I want to give a shout out to Jackie Jones, who is also a yoga teacher. And she also does really beautiful work in the community. And as an additional plus, she has created the art that you might see behind me of the mandala on the canvas. And what a beautiful accent it is to our environment here and our shared space. This rocking that you see, the safety points that keep us safe and secure in ourselves, is navel to spine, as per usual, navel to spine, drawing in and up. We might even feel that dynamic of drawing in and up with the navel. And then the hands resting on either leg to help to root us and ground us and stay really solid in our base. So I'm showing here that the heel of my hand, I'm bringing it right up to the very top of my thigh where it connects to that protrusion of the bone, which is the iliac crest. And that bone is the iliac crest. The heel of the hand is actually pressing into the psoas, the hip flexor. And this is a freedom point. By and large, when we can create more ease there, we feel lighter in every step that we take throughout the day. More ease, and of course, that immediately benefits the health of our back. I'm pausing here to stretch out my neck muscles. That's what I've assessed, and now I'm addressing. And of course, in an integrated way with yoga, because everything is connected within the self, that simple addressing is my also taking initiative, otherwise known as affirming, through action. I believe there's an African proverb that says something to the effect of the necessity of praying with our feet. And that means acting now, taking action as a way to form a greater symbiosis between ourselves as we are today and the selves we wish to be or become. So all I'm doing here in the physical self is the exact opposite that I did last time. Heel of the hand is pressing at the very top of my thigh, right up against that bone, which is the iliac crest. And here I'm opting, I've determined it might really be advantageous if I could get my head to rotate along my neck by looking up and looking down. And it really helped. It really supported me. And now I'm ready to come into my own here, sit up straight, closing my eyes, and feeling the present moment to discover what's next. How can I create more freedom in my felt sense in my body? So here I am addressing my hiker's muscles, the hiker's muscles, so the backs of the legs. And I'm doing this in a way that honors the fact that sometimes, if not always, the backs of my legs in these postures can feel some restriction. So self-soothing comes into play as I take initiative to integrate my felt sense of where I am and where I'm moving toward, rather than sitting idly and causing any unnecessary tension to arise. I'm finding some self-stewardship, self-initiative. How can I foster what feels good? So sometimes we need to play that edge. So I'm turning my toes up toward my shoulders to more deeply sense the backs of my legs, which can be and actually are really flexible. The more that I am patient with myself, so we're still practicing that yogic sense of detachment, healthy detachment, while honoring the fact that sometimes things go over better if we can be actively engaged with the process or the journey that our bodies are on. We can feel a greater sense of self-stewardship and control, helping to further anchor us in the present moment, inner change, and giving us more ground to continue to develop in the ways that we want to. In yoga, it's not about being the biggest and the baddest. It's about being the truest. What's really here for me, the greater we inquire, the more we discover, the more we're going to ultimately benefit. So these thumb presses along the bone between my ankle and my knee, right in the underbelly that I was doing, that helps to really get a sense of rootedness for me. What is it for you? How might you apply self-soothing with hands open or closed, fronts of hand, back of hand, perhaps just the thumb or the fingers, four fingers together, pressing, really listening to that inner guidance system that we practice in TCY and we learn about thoroughly in the 30-hour and the 200-hour, both of those, 30 and 200-hour teacher trainings here online, and depending on the details, possibly in person near you. If you're wondering about something that you see me doing or hear me describing as I demo it, try it. We want to really try to model nature. Nature never tries to be perfect. If it did, or if we did, more importantly, we'd never make any new connections. No newness would ever come to be. No new connections would ever be made because we'd be modeling ourselves based off of a preconceived idea formed in the past of what perfection is. Just for your ongoing awareness, I have shifted to hands and knees, a variation of cat and cow, which is for some people very enjoyable. It really depends. Having closed hands can take any burden that is the weight of the rest of the body off of the wrists. So closing the hands, sometimes having the neck rest more fully downward with the chin and the forehead just resting down with the gentle pull of gravity. That can also really emphasize whatever it is we need in the present moment. So here I am. I've come to resting posture, and I am in need of experiencing this resting posture in a new way. So for me, this means feeling a stretch along the upper back, right up in toward the shoulders, along the trapezius, palms up, reaching out. Your body might experience this differently. It might feel uncomfortable or unnecessary, and it really is in that feedback that your body gives you where you get to figure out where to go next. Assessing, addressing, and affirming, as we spoke about earlier. For me, I've decided that I need to keep going with this upper back exploration. So I put my fingertips forward, as you saw, fingertips forward, and then I rocked in the upper back, and that did it for me. I've shifted onward here by pressing the heels of my hands forward. As far as the hand placement goes, it depends on where you're at in your experience. So where you're at in your own body and your experience. It's not a levels thing. It's just listening to your body. Hands further away or hands closer toward you is going to have a different appeal and a different effect. So I've rounded up with my head hanging to increase the stretch along the back of the neck and in all of the vertebrae throughout the spine. And I've turned my palms away from one another as my arms are shoulder height, crossed one arm over the other just above the wrist, and then connected my palms, interlacing my fingers and bringing my connected hands toward me. And once I've done that, away from me to stretch into the forearms. And I've determined that I need to feel some movement here, that I need to feel this movement in order to more deeply connect with the purpose of my, excuse me, the purpose of my being here And therefore, I have, as you saw, I was drawing circles. And now I've completely, in bringing my hands toward my body again, and then away one more time, I've been able to disconnect my palms. I reached up and over my head, and now self-soothing with hand sweeps on my legs and exploring what is it that you're feeling right now. Sometimes in the beginning, it's all about listening to ideas of movement from the guide of the facilitation, such as myself. I hope that you're finding a happy medium of listening to both forms of information giving. The source of the body and then the source of my own offering to you in this TCY, Trauma Cooperative Yoga flow, centered around inducing greater calm into the body. Here I've slid my knee up along the floor, keeping my knee in contact with that floor to preserve the health of my back. Palm on top of palm, I'm resting my cheek on my hand with my gaze in the direction, in this instance, toward the bent knee. That said, really, the sky is not the limit. The sky is a reference point. A thought that came to me as I was developing TCY, Trauma Cooperative Yoga, and really wanting to reach, even needing truly to reach beyond everything I had been indoctrinated with about how to do and how not to do, while staying with the roots of yoga, of oneness and unity within ourselves before we can know it in any other creation in the physical world. I've moved over to my opposite side. Where are you right now? 3 A's. Assess, address, affirm through taking initiative. After you have assessed what it is you need, then meeting those needs, then addressing them in the form of self-soothing, which really all of yoga has the potential of being a form of decision-making around what do I need to feel in my body right now? What do I need to feel in my total self right now? And how, as I explore my body, how might I find the ability within myself to anchor within that assessed need? As you might see here, I've slid my right knee down so both legs are now straight out behind me, while I rest my forehead on top of my palms to recenter and reconnect to my whole body as left and right side are modeling one another. Now, I've determined that Those heel presses that we did earlier, you might have done them with me, really geared me up to being able to explore bringing my left heel toward my left buttocks. As I'm breathing here, natural breath, I'm only creating the intention as I change sides and bring my right heel to my right buttock that I am allowing myself to breathe easy without needing to control exactly how my breath is, allowing myself to find and feel how my breath needs to move in my body. So even the breath we bring on board to that meeting needs, actively self-soothing, and taking initiative through the 3 A's. Assessing, addressing, and affirming through action, as we spoke about earlier. Okay, so please address whatever needs you have right now. And for me, I'm ending how I started, in final resting posture, practicing alternate nostril breath, just as described at the start of this video. From here on, there is no more talking from me for this video, for the final resting posture. Please, whenever you are ready to shift onward from final resting posture, before doing too much activity or driving, riding a bicycle, or any motor vehicle, please have some time to drink water, maybe tea, your favorite latte, maybe even have a couple bites of your favorite snack to get the energy churning in your lower extremities again, to help to create that sense of grounding. Thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to continuing to be with you in classes forward.